How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to go and have a go on this mod. It's the Stadium Super Truck map. It's got like a few different maps on it basically. They're largely kind of tarmac maps, but there is a bit of off-roading in there. It's it's a pretty cool download overall. It doesn't even take a lot of space either. To get on it, go up to new. Well, obviously once you've downloaded it and turned it on, go to new game, and then it'll say custom scenarios, select it, and then you have to choose one of your save slots. So as you can see there, I've not actually been on the map really, but I just saved over my volcano download. That's not currently in the map store, like the mod thing at the minute. I think they've removed it for some reason, so I just kind of left it in the end. So this is one of the first maps. I came to bring this thing again, the TC's 2020 Yeetmobile thing. Because a lot of this is actually tarmac rather than off-roading. You'll still see though where this thing kind of suffers, but it was pretty cool. It was a nice little drift going along. The fact that the corners are banked in this section is quite nice, because you can get quite a lot of understeer and stuff when you go a bit quicker in this game, but the way they've banked it kind of keeps you in line a bit too much there. Obviously it's still a little bit squirrely and iffy, this thing. It's still funny though. I do like just flooring it around every now and then, but as well, I didn't see it yesterday, but there's thanks to a few people for telling me, there's a crawler version of this as well. So you've got like this, which let's just call it the street version or whatever. You've got like the mud off-road version. The crawler version is pretty similar to the off-road one, to be fair. It's a slightly different setup. I assume it's like the crawler suspension. It's one of Frog's mods, so it's probably like the crawler, but they're pretty similar, I would say, overall. It's still pretty cool though. It's 3 different versions with one download. So yeah, I'm not going to go the whole way around this map. As you can see, things are going a little bit iffy with this thing, but this is one of the first ones. You can kind of do a lap of the oval, basically, like a little bit like a mini NASCAR track, and then you swerve off, do a jump, and then you can see it sort of ventures off to a few different lanes. You've got like this tarmac way you can go, or as you're going along the way there's kind of little turns where you can take that'll take you down like an off-road track instead, that'll kind of meet back up with this a little bit later on. You can see when I jump there it stubs the nose on the floor, and I cut it there because further on there's just loads of little jumps, and that's all it did over and over was it sits quite low, and it's got quite a pointy front angled bumper really, so it digs in pretty easily. Next up, this is another course, kind of more of a, well, definitely more of an off-roading one. So I brought the Lodestar for this. The nice thing about this map, once you load it up and everything, you've got like 99999 whatever money, and obviously I turned various mods on, so I've got about 5 or 6 mods that I brought over to this. One thing I did notice though, just to throw it out there, the last playthrough I think I'd loaded up was my first playthrough, so I don't have many trucks on that. I believe it brought my trucks over from that playthrough, which is kind of how it works in the proving grounds, which is fine. But because it was my first playthrough, I've only got like 4 trucks or whatever. So in this, I'm able to buy everything from the truck store. It let me buy a loaf, for example. I couldn't resist a loaf. But it won't let me do anything. It's like when you click on engines, it's just got the base engine. I bought something else as well. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but one of the sort of base game trucks. And again, it was just offering me like the stock version of everything well, not everything, it'd let me choose different tyres and stuff, but using the loaf as an example, it wouldn't let me have anything above a stock engine. It only had one, like, just said stock gearbox, stock suspension. It would let me choose tyres and the winch. So I'm just throwing that out there, because if you are going to load this map up, what you preferably want to do before you do is load your playthrough up that's got all the trucks that you want to use, and then just quit to main menu again, and then load this map up, and it will bring all those trucks across. So if I'd loaded up my first playthrough where I've got everything, it should already bring like fully upgraded loafs and everything else I've got over to this. Anyway, you can see with this thing, there's it's definitely more of an off-roading track. They've got little sections like this. It's pretty cool, to be honest. It's a little bit fiddly trying to get over bits like that, because if you go down into the low gears, it's pretty, like, it's not bad, but when you actually get down to the fine details of trying to balance along a pretty narrow beam, you it highlights, like, the game's not 100% accurate on you can skid around a bit easy, you can slip sideways very easily, and there's not always a whole lot you can do about it, really. But it was still fun. It was good for a challenge. This Lodestar as well, the JB version, was doing pretty nicely around this track. Well, he says, just so I get caught on a little rock. So each map as well, each track you've got is, you can click as like a contest. As you can see, I've got loads of little markers to go and drive through. When you do them, you get quite a lot of XP and money, but that's, yeah, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. I believe I had everything unlocked in the garage anyway. I mean, well, I don't know. I was going to say maybe that's why it was only letting me get stock versions of stuff, because it carried my third playthrough over. I'm at a pretty low level on that, but yeah, when you pass little contests and stuff on this, it gives you like 8,000 XP and all sorts, so you start jumping up the levels pretty quick. But overall, it's just a fun map to go and mess around on for a bit, really. And because it's on its own separate like save file and all the rest of it, and like I say, I actually turned like 5 or 6 mods on for this, which I believe is like the most mods I've brought to a map at any one time. But yeah, as far as, I mean, touch wood, I didn't have any crashing issues or anything like that. You'll see every now and then, if it shows up in the footage, like the screen will just sort of freeze, only for like half a second. It's, you know, a little bit like you get lag in some games and stuff, so it wasn't the end of the world. But yeah, I had no bugs or crashes or anything like that, but I feel a little bit less worried about it because it's on its own separate playthrough, where at least if something does go wrong, it's not going to wipe out one of my my main games with it. Yeah, going across there, you can still see like rocks. You just don't really get very decent grip on them. And again, that's nothing to do with this mod or even, I'd say, this map. It's just in this game in general, really. There's kind of, yeah, they've coded this game the way they have, and as I said, it's not the end of the world. They've obviously done it for a reason, to get the desired effect as far as off-roading and that goes. But with maps like this and mods and all sorts, you can kind of start to push the limits of various characteristics and physics of the game, and you start to notice where things unravel a bit. But like I say, that's kind of be the same with any game. This game isn't trying to be a racing game, for example, so I'm not yeah, I'm not kind of knocking it for the fact that it isn't a racing game, even though I certainly do enjoy my racing games. Thankfully, yeah, I was going to say right near the end I tipped, but luckily they've got, whoever made this map, yeah, they've kind of had a good idea in mind of helping you out with things like those trees lined along the side of that. It's not just trying to be a complete pain in the arse where you'd have to recover each time and start again. So next up, yeah, we're bringing the loaf out. It's a mainly stock loaf, but he has got his wrecker shoes on, which, I mean, if my loaf turns up with the appropriate footwear, that's my loaf's game. And yeah, like I say, I reckon this is my my favourite track out of the game so far. So you start again from that beginning section. I've turned the contest on this time. Yeah, do a lap of like the oval. I originally was driving around with the wrecker body, but the wrecker body slows this thing down, not insane amounts, but there's a few jumps coming up and it wasn't going quick enough all the time to make it over the jump. So yeah, put the roll back on. It just seems to be a lot lighter. The truck in general is able to go a bit quicker. Of course, we popped a goddamn professional on there. Oh yes, it's good to see a loaf fly. So you can see, like, once you start going fast, you just sort of skid around. So I assume, though, this whole map in general is kind of well put together if you are able to get this somehow online and get your mates with you in the game. Like, some of the tracks have kind of got 2 lanes, so you can race someone. And this one isn't specifically 2 lanes, but yeah, you could still both start a contest and have a little race. But again, I don't even know if you can, I don't even know how you would get online to get to this one if you could, but it appears some of it's been designed with that in mind, so there must be some way. So yeah, that's where I landed and stubbed my nose with like the Yeetmobile. So after that you carry on up here, there's like a little slalom section. Those tyres as well, they're pretty cool. They're not individual tyres, they are like bundles stuck together, but yeah. You can, once you bump into them, like they're all separate from each other. I just mean each stack of tyres is like one solid block of tyres, but yeah, there's a bit of giving them if you smash into them. And then yeah, you carry on, you see those 3 jumps I just went over, that's what the Yeetmobile kept stubbing its nose going over, so it was a bit long and drawn out. Jump over there though, pretty nice landing. Another jump, I quite like the jumps to be fair. And trucks that would do pretty well on that, I reckon a lot of Frogs mods probably would, with like the custom crawler thing, the Titanius Maximus, I was driving that around a bit on this game as well. I just kind of edited it out. I think I drove around every track on the map. Maybe not every possible route, because like I said on there, like this map for example, this track, sorry, this has a few sections where it splits off and you can kind of make a choice between tarmac or more off-roading. So that's a good thing about this truck, even if you damage the suspension and everything, it's still able to actually drive along. Yeah, so you do another jump over there. I've basically just landed back in the middle of that oval. And I was looking now because I thought, could I just go and get that checkpoint? But it's got another checkpoint around there, so I'll have to go and do it the long way. That's what she said. See, again though, with the bank section, you get a little bit of drifting on the go. It's still a little bit sketchy. It's certainly not going to be replacing, I don't know, Need for Speed or something as a drifting game. You see, the loaf? The loaf flies around that track like a goddamn professional. So you can see that, I think I get, yeah, quite a lot of points for that. Money's sort of irrelevant anyway, because you can sort of see in the top I've got about 99 billion or whatever it is. Silver trophy, these damn lies. The game knows the loaf gets gold. Just didn't want to embarrass the other trucks. Stays on there pretty well. I wanted to do this, I was very happy with the results. Nice fat drift. Hit all of them at once. Loaf showing them warthogs how it's done. And then I remembered, like, yeah, I think there's some Hummers over on the other side. There they are. And we go for a nice clean ramming on them. Again, that's what she said. It was looking bad, but last second, drop the hammer. Oh yes. That Hummer felt it. No particular reason to do that. Oh yeah, that was the other truck. It was the Hummer. I recovered one of them to the garage, or you start with a Hummer. That's what I tried doing up, and it would only offer me the stock version of like the Hummer engine. It was, I can't remember, like the 5.8 litre or whatever, but it wasn't the one with the like military turbo engine. Yeah, went flying, kind of snapped the wrecker in half a bit. Got a bit crazy there. So next up behind you when you start, there's like I think it's called like a kart track. It'd probably be pretty decent for that. What's it called? The Earth Dog or something like that. Again, this does sound nice. Do appreciate a nice sounding engine. Yeah, as you can see, it gets a little bit squirrely. It's one of them really. The steering's quick enough on it, but it's just the way the game applies power, however it works it out. Like sometimes when you floor it, it's not always linear in the way it applies it. It's like, and it's not even always the same each time you apply it. It's just sometimes it can try and Jeff special itself and you go absolutely flying. Other times it just kind of eases into high range and it's not too bad. Yeah, sometimes it drifts to the left, to the right, do the hokey cokey and you turn around, all sorts of stuff, but it's still, again, pretty funny. If you get it right, you can do some nice little drifts, but it's, yeah, again, it ain't no Gran Turismo handling or anything like that. You know, I'm pretty much just blipping the throttle. Sitting in high though, if you blip the throttle, for the most part it was going alright. Because again, it's one of them when you're driving around these courses, if you put it in auto, even with some of the powerful stuff, it just every now and then it like completely loses all its guts for a second, where the game just wants to stop everything and drop it back down into first or something. So the nice thing about high range in pretty much all trucks is, at least when you floor it, there's pretty instant power. I'm not going to go all the way around this. This is like that sort of off-roading course again, but this is the crawler version, which I forgot to include yesterday. But like I said, it's pretty similar to the like raised up monster truck off-road version. Anyway, you can see though it has got the crawler axles. They are a little bit different. Probably a slightly different selection of engines and tyres and whatnot, but for the most part, they're relatively similar. But yeah, nonetheless, I wanted to give it a go. See, I was trying to be sensible there. Well, I cut the first bit out, but I went flying down there earlier, hit those and landed somewhere over to the left of the screen in the trees. It could have gone better, I admit. It's quite funny, like those logs and that they put in the way of the map. Again, it's sort of... You can see there I just started kind of kangarooing, bouncing back and forth over them. And again, you apply the power. I can't remember which engine I've got in this, but it wouldn't surprise me if I just went and stuck the biggest one in. Again, that's definitely what she said. Yeah, that's about as far as I got. Did a nice big jump. It was good times, but I crashed very shortly after that. It's just a quick look at the map. There's like, you can see the big oval in the middle. I kind of moved my cursor all over the place, but I wasn't very accurate with it. This is where I went with a loaf and that Corvette, like the Yeetmobile, the street version. And then back to the centre of that. This is that crawler, not crawler, well, where I just took the crawler, sorry. This was like the course I was going on. This is where I took the Lodestar as well. And then this course in the bottom corner, I'm about to go and do that in a minute with the Titanium Maximus. And that tarmac course, you could see kind of to the left of it was where I just took the, again, the Corvette C8 sort of street version. So this is like a bit of an obstacle course. Kind of, you got to be pretty precise on this for most of it. It's a bit of a tricky one. And again, yeah, it was pretty cool to do, but as you can see, I'm in a high-low, which I'd definitely say is worth it. When you're in auto, there's just... You can only, like, when you're squeezing the trigger on a PlayStation 4 remote or whatever, especially if you're leaning on stuff like this, as soon as it kicks the power in, you can just drift to the side. You can see there, it kind of just scooted me over to the left by a foot or two. It's, you know what I mean, it's not hyper-realistic when it comes to trying to be precise with stuff like this, so it can sort of catch you out to where, yeah, there's only so much you can do about it. At least in high-low, you're kind of going slow enough to where it doesn't just boot the power in, so you're not really going to drift around left or right on your wheels. And I suppose it's just slow enough that you can try and make little corrections while you're at it. But you can see that I start scooting over, I apply a bit of left-hand steer, but none of it kicks in. But if you play the game, you know the mechanics. If I held the steering any longer, it'd suddenly count as like I'm steering all the way over, and then it'd suddenly just flick over to the left pretty quick. Fortunately though, because that's the tricky thing with this course, you get caught up somewhere like there. There's possibly the only thing to do is recover, but fortunately they have put plenty of winchable trees. It's nice as well because they've not put loads of those stupid little trees that just instantly pop out the ground. So for the most part you actually, yeah, winch is something that's got a bit of strength to it, but yeah, I was able to kind of scoot myself back on. Those little iron girder things that were going over the map kind of helped a bit because I could bump my tyre up on that. Yeah, got these little ramp sections, a bit like this in the proving grounds. These aren't too bad, but if you hit them flat out as much as I was tempted to, it's only going to, like, yeah, just launch you like a sideways ramp. But that's one thing, and that's why I was glad I took this, the Titanium Maximus thing, because, yeah, it's just got very nice feeling suspension. It does feel pretty realistic. I didn't try any of the... Oh, in fact, sorry, I did actually. I tried the JBE Scout 800, and I slipped off the barrels a couple of times, and then that was like right near the beginning of the night, so I just came back later with this. But yeah, the fact that the suspension feels a lot more realistic is pretty nice, pretty good truck to attempt this with. But it still has the same issue that everything does in this game, where, yeah, you can kind of just scoot along left and right a little bit. But obviously that's not really an issue once you're in the mud and stuff, which is the general premise of this game. It doesn't really matter then. It's only when you're on like tarmac stuff, or yeah, trying to balance across a pretty narrow beam, that you start to notice that is actually the situation. Here's the Hummers I smashed into. We got twice. I mean, what a stupid place to park. I was asking for it. Yeah, you can see now, gets even harder. That's definitely what she said. But yeah, now they are even more narrow, like pipes we're driving over. First time I went up, nope, got it wrong. Slipped off to the right. Again, putting it in the low gears. It just helps not apply a lot of power. But in case you didn't know from my general driving style, yeah, this is a little bit slow for me. I mean, it was fun, don't get me wrong. I appreciate that it's in the game. But I don't think I'll be doing too many laps of this. But it's definitely, as far as testing your skills and to test out some of the various mods, I think with this one, like this course, there's only so many mods you could come down here with, because a lot of them like are obviously a certain width, so some of the bigger trucks. I don't think, for example, you could even attempt this with a club or something, even if you wanted to. I only just realised at the last second there there was another section with the beam. Do you know what? Well, I've been meaning to mention this for bloody ages, and I keep forgetting. Does anyone feel like the gearbox has been more kind of sticky since? I don't think it was the mod update. I think it was the one before from Flooded, when they added like Flooded Foothills and Big Salmon Peak. But you used to say you were in like high-low, you could kind of knock it down to medium-low, over to auto, and down to reverse very fluently, and it was like pretty easy. Now it just, the amount of times it catches me out these days where, again, you could be in reverse and you want to put it back into high-low, and going just straight up, say, to high gear is not as bad because you're only going straight up. But when I'm trying to go sideways and all that, it's just really awkward at the minute. Like, the gear just keeps trying to, yeah, stick, and it won't go over to the gear you want until, you know, faff around a bit and all sorts. And again, I'm pretty sure it was to do with the update, because I'm not saying it's not nothing to do with me. Like, I've missed gears and all sorts before, but it's just, yeah, like I said, it's a lot stickier. It doesn't, like, once you drop it down to medium low and try and go back over to auto and that, it really, you have to usually give my stick a few wiggles. But yeah, anyway, that's the course though. Yeah, we got silver this time. Like I said, bit of a difficult course, but I'll have another go at it at some point. Yeah, that's a stadium super truck map or whatever. Worth getting, worth having a little go. I hope you enjoyed, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.